Is MSG really bad for your health? A question that often pops up in food-related discussions. MSG, or monosodium glutamate, is a flavor enhancer commonly used in food around the world. But what exactly is it? Well, it's derived from L-glutamic acid, a naturally occurring amino acid. The name might sound intimidating, but the reality is a lot less scary. It's found naturally in many foods we eat every day, like tomatoes and cheese. It's even produced by our own bodies. Now you might be wondering, is it safe? According to health authorities, the answer is yes. MSG has been deemed safe for consumption, with an acceptable daily intake. So while you might have heard rumors or concerns about MSG, it's important to remember that it's widely considered safe by experts in the field. But just like any topic, there's always room for debate. MSG has been a subject of controversy for years, with some individuals claiming adverse effects. While MSG has been a subject of debate, it's important to look at the evidence before drawing conclusions. The controversy surrounding MSG largely stems from misinformation and outdated research. Let's dive into this. Monosodium glutamate, or MSG, once had a reputation for being the bad boy of the food additive world. There was a time when MSG was linked with numerous health issues, from headaches to heart palpitations. These negative associations were based on early research, but it's time to set the record straight with more recent findings. Current research tells us a different story about MSG. It's not the villain it was once painted to be. The health concerns that were once attributed to MSG are now being questioned. One of the most common myths around MSG is that it leads to increased appetite and energy intake. This idea has been tossed around for years, but the evidence supporting it is contradictory at best. In fact, some studies suggest that MSG might have the opposite effect, possibly helping to control appetite rather than stimulating it. Now that's a twist. This contradiction shows how important it is to continually update our knowledge and not cling to outdated information. Moreover, the safety of MSG is supported by health authorities around the world who have deemed it safe for consumption. It's considered a food ingredient with the same level of safety as common table salt. That's quite a leap from being labeled a health hazard, isn't it? It's also worth noting that MSG is derived from a naturally occurring amino acid, L-glutamic acid. This is an amino acid that you're already consuming as part of your normal diet. It's in everything from tomatoes to cheese, and it's what gives these foods their savory or umami flavor. Let's be clear though, we're not saying that MSG is completely blameless. Like any food ingredient, it can cause adverse reactions in a small percentage of people. However, this is true for many substances, even those considered generally safe. So the fears about MSG may not be as grounded as they seem. It's time to rethink our stance on MSG, armed with updated research and a clearer understanding of its effects. But what does the science say about MSG? Well, let's dive into the studies. Some research conducted on animals has suggested a potential association between MSG and metabolic disorders. These studies are indeed intriguing, sparking conversations and considerations about the impacts of MSG on our health. However, it's important to remember that studies conducted on animals do not always translate directly to humans. Our metabolisms and bodily processes are complex and distinct from those of animals. Therefore, while these findings are worth noting, they don't give us a definitive answer. There is a need for more comprehensive studies on humans to fully understand the relationship between MSG and metabolic disorders. Now let's address the elephant in the room: claims of brain toxicity from MSG. These claims have caused a stir, leading many to fear the potential impact of MSG on their brain health. However, the science tells a different story. Dietary glutamate, which is what MSG is derived from, does not significantly affect the brain. You see, the human brain is a well-fortified organ. It's protected by the blood-brain barrier, a diligent gatekeeper that controls what gets in and out of the brain. Glutamate, consumed through our diet, is largely unable to cross this barrier. Therefore, the glutamate we consume in foods seasoned with MSG doesn't directly impact our brain. Moreover, glutamate is an essential neurotransmitter naturally present in our bodies. It plays a critical role in learning and memory. The glutamate used in MSG is chemically indistinguishable from the glutamate naturally present in our bodies, so the notion that MSG could cause brain toxicity lacks scientific backing. Therefore, science does not support the belief that MSG is harmful or dangerous. However, like any substance, MSG isn't without its potential side effects. Yes, it's true, nothing is entirely without risk, and MSG is no different. It's time we delve into an area known as the MSG symptom complex. This is a collection of symptoms that some individuals may experience after consuming foods that contain MSG. Now, The name might sound intimidating, but let's put this into perspective. The majority of people can consume MSG without any issue, but there's a small segment of the population, less than 1% to be precise, that might experience these symptoms. So, what does this MSG symptom complex look like? Well, it can manifest in a few different ways. Some of the reported symptoms include headache, flushing, sweating, facial pressure or tightness, numbness, tingling or burning in the face, neck and other areas, rapid, fluttering heartbeats, chest pain, nausea, and weakness. It's quite a list, isn't it? Now here's where it gets a bit tricky. These symptoms are rather general and could be attributed to a variety of causes. This makes it challenging to definitively link them to MSG consumption. Moreover, these symptoms usually disappear on their own in a short time without the need for medical intervention. It's also important to note that these symptoms are not indicative of an allergic reaction. An allergy to MSG is extremely rare. Instead, this is more of an intolerance or sensitivity to MSG, similar to how some people may be sensitive to lactose or gluten. The bottom line? While the MSG symptom complex is a reality for a very small percentage of people, it's not a widespread problem. The vast majority of us can enjoy foods containing MSG without any adverse effects. So while some individuals may experience adverse effects, this is not the norm. Our bodies are unique, and what affects one person may not affect another. So it's always good to listen to our bodies and understand what works best for us. After all, as they say, one man's meat is another man's poison. So let's wrap up our discussion on MSG. Is it as bad as it's made out to be? Throughout this video, we've explored the fascinating world of monosodium glutamate, a flavor enhancer commonly used in food. We've debunked some myths, delved into the science, and even examined the so-called MSG symptom complex. But the question remains, is MSG harmful or dangerous? Well, let's revisit some of the key points we've covered. Firstly, we learned that MSG is derived from L-glutamic acid, a naturally occurring amino acid. This isn't a man-made chemical concocted in a laboratory. It's a substance that can be found in nature, and our bodies are familiar with it. We also discovered that the health authorities have given MSG their seal of approval. They've determined that it has an acceptable daily intake and is safe for consumption. That's a significant endorsement that shouldn't be overlooked. Then we delved into the science behind MSG. We found out that previous concerns about MSG's negative health effects have been questioned by newer research. The additive has been linked to increased appetite and energy intake, but the evidence is contradictory. Animal studies have suggested a potential association between MSG and metabolic disorders, but human studies are needed. Claims of brain toxicity from MSG are not supported by evidence, as dietary glutamate does not significantly affect the brain. We also discussed the MSG symptom complex, a condition that affects less than 1% of the population. While it's true that some individuals may experience adverse effects from MSG, it's important to remember that this is not the norm. The vast majority of people can consume MSG without experiencing any negative effects. So, where does that leave us? Well, it seems that the vilification of MSG might be a bit overblown. Yes, like anything, it can have adverse effects in some people, and further research is always welcome. But as it stands right now, the evidence doesn't support the belief that MSG is harmful or dangerous. Therefore, it seems that MSG, like many things in life, may not be as harmful as it's made out to be. As always, moderation is key.